Baseball Books and Banter with me, your host, Nicole here on YouTube again, because why not? Even though I feel bad I have not put makeup on for a while, hence I just did a lot of yard work face. You'll notice in the video with Jenny coming up that I have a red nose. I think it's from being outside, so that's fun. And I look tired because it's daylight savings, and so sleep has been hard to come by. But I'm really excited for you to listen to this discussion with Jenny. We had a scheduling kerfluffle with some family illnesses, so we were supposed to record this, I think, 2 weeks ago, but we finally got to connect, and she might be my new best friend. I think she's great. I just finished her first book, A Deadly Endeavor, with Edie Shippen and Gilbert, and I gush about it a lot in the podcast, so I apologize in advance. I'm very excited for the next one. This was one of those that I could have talked for an hour, and I probably should just buy the Zoom Professional because I could have talked to her forever. I really want to learn more about her research in the monsters of the 14th century literature, like in French literature. I thought that was really cool. So I'm definitely going to have her back because I definitely want to learn more. We also have a similar track of residences, so some of the fun little things that you don't realize about some of your favorite authors. So I'm really excited. We did get cut off at the end because I think I complained too much that it's an election week, so I had nothing. My brain is just full of attack ads and ballot questions. I've already voted. I voted early because I just like to get it done because I know who I'm voting for. But Tuesday is going to be, I plan on watching a lot of probably Murdoch mysteries during the day. I have a couple of I actually have a dentist appointment on election day, so I'm going to have fun. Either way, going to get a crown put in, so that's fun. I don't have a ton of things I'm obsessed with this week because I've just been trying to keep my head above water with work, with some book stuff, with some reading, some library things, so I don't have a ton of things I'm obsessed with. I'm obsessed with my little crafts that I've been doing. I don't know if any of the people that will be on my panel at the Crime Bake this week, I don't know if they're going to listen to this podcast, but I made little gifts for them. And then also our Lifetime Achievement Award winner is Hank Philippi Ryan this year at the Crime Bake. So I made a little bookcase with some of her books. I'm going to hopefully get the award / the certificate and try to put that on there too. It's what happens when you finally figure out a craft that you can do. So I'm doing that. I'm obsessed with my cat children, although right now it's starting to get cold outside, so I'm having some mice issues. Luckily, I have hunting cats, and Madeline's been hunting them for me. Although she did carry one out this morning, and it was still alive, so that's fun. So now that's next on my list is to get me a nice exterminator. So that's all the stuff that's going on here. Like I said, the Crime Bake is coming up this weekend in Dedham. Hopefully I'll see some of you there. But if I don't, hopefully you'll find me online, and hopefully you will enjoy this discussion with Jenny as much as I had making it. If you want a little sports update, obviously nothing's happening because baseball season is officially over. The Yankees lost. Woo. Wilyer Abreu, our outfielder, he just won a Gold Glove, which is really exciting. He's a fun guy to watch, and he has dance parties in the dugout, and I love him. So hopefully we keep him forever and ever. I know that's not realistic, hence our entire win, dance, repeat outfield is now on other teams, but it's nice to have a win when you had such a crappy season. Bruins are on a 2-game win streak, so that's exciting. They had Jack Edwards' night last night, and it was really fun to watch him back in the booth and also to watch them win. The Celtics, I think, are either 6-1 or 7-1. Wins start to bleed together, but I still listen to my guys, Sean Grandy and Cedric Maxwell on 98.5. Every time they play tonight, and I will be listening as I go to sleep because, again, I don't want to watch it on TV because there's too many attack ads. And here in Massachusetts, which is really weird, we have a lot of New Hampshire ads because the markets are so close together. So I feel like I should be able to vote in New Hampshire just because I've seen all the ads. But they won't let me, which is fine. But I voted, so hopefully you get out and vote. and let's just move this country forward. Let's see what happens. But without further ado, speaking of government, this is Jenny, who lives down in the DC area, so this is exciting. And let me know what you think. I mean, right before we started recording, I was like gushing over Jenny's new book, well, first book, debut novel?
Debut, yeah.
A Deadly Endeavor, which is set in Jazz Age Philly. So I have questions about that, but it was great. I'm a historical mystery buff. I don't write them because that's a lot of research. So we'll ask about that too. But before we get too far into things, Jenny Adams is my guest. And why don't you introduce yourselves to the people?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jenny. I am the author of A Deadly Endeavor, which came out this past March. I'm also a librarian and mom to a 6-year-old and a very needy hound dog. So
as my 3 cats run around here like, it's dinner time. I'm like, not yet. You got an hour.
Yeah.
Trust me.
So thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited. We met through the Guppies. Or Guppy, right? Yeah. So I've talked ad nauseum about how much I love the Guppies and Sisters in Crime and all that. So that's how been my favorite way of finding new authors. So thank you for joining, and thank you for responding to that. It almost sounded pretty pleady and desperate when I was like, guys, I want to talk to people. I don't have anybody to talk to in my house with my cats. And then I saw that you had written historical mysteries. I love that your degrees are in medieval studies and library science, but you chose to write about the 1920s. So I didn't know how that kind of married the decision.
It doesn't really.
Fair.
I spent all of college writing about monsters in 14th century French literature. And then I wrote a whole bunch of fantasy novels that never sold. And so my agent was like, let's try something new. And I was like, well, I like mysteries. Yeah, I feel like I'm an accidental mystery writer. I always loved reading them.
Yeah.
But I never thought I could actually write one until Edie kind of appeared in my head like a freight train and didn't.
And she is. If you read the book, she's definitely a freight train. She's got what they call spunk or whatever.
Moxie.
Yeah, moxie, chutzpah, if you will, which was fun to read. I feel like I want to talk about the book, but I can't talk too much because I'll spoil it. So just know it's really great. But what made you decide Philadelphia as a setting? Because you're currently in the DC area, Northern Virginia.
Currently, I'm living in Alexandria, but I grew up in Pennsylvania. I grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania. Philly was always an hour and a half away. And then in 2015, my husband got into a PhD program at Temple, and so we moved to Philadelphia, where we lived for 7 years. And so I fell in love with the city. I wasn't sure how I was going to like living in a city as big as Philly when we got there. But we lived in Manayunk, which is a neighborhood in the northwest of Philadelphia, the whole time. Gilbert's parents' house in the book is the house that we lived in. The school that I taught at was the school Edie graduated from. And so there's so much of our time in Philly in this book, a time that I also knew was going to end. I knew that we were leaving. PhD programs they end eventually. Yeah. Maybe not as quickly as some of us would like, but they do end. And it was really my way of just capturing how much I love the city of Philadelphia. And it's a place that doesn't get enough books, I think.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I was like, I don't think I've read, I mean, because usually when you read a good historical mystery, New York is the biggest. New York and London too.
Or Chicago.
Right. Yeah. We get a few Boston ones, but that's because I'm all Boston, because I'm in Boston. So it's like, of course I see all those. But yeah, I don't know if you know this, but I also grew up in Pennsylvania, sort of. We did my dad was Navy, and so he was stationed in Mechanicsburg for about a long time. So it was 4th and 5th grade for me, 6th grade, beginning of 7th. Then we moved. Then we came back. And so I did all my high school there. And then I did 3 years after college. So central PA, though.
Yeah, central PA is, I mean, I grew up in the Poconos near Scranton.
Okay, yep.
So It's middle of Pennsylvania.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I was an hour and a half from Philly and the other way. You were
Yeah.
that way, I was that way. But yeah, it was always kind of the big trip to take is like, let's go down the turnpike to Pennsylvania or to Philly and the King of, or what is it? Is it the King of Prussia?
Prussia.
That
Yeah.
was the big to do. For all you Gen Zers listening, the King of Prussia is a mall. I know they don't have a ton of them anymore, but
It is a huge mall. It's like
it was like the Mall of America for the East Coast, I felt. And that's how they described it to you. And it was like, oh my God, this is going to be great. I actually,
prom dress there.
After college, I interviewed for a job in Conshohocken. So I almost was a Philadelphia girl, but I moved to DC and then moved back up to Boston.
Boston. So,
yeah.
Little
parallels. I went to college in Massachusetts. So I kind of always wanted to come back up here. But I love that idea. And my books are set in the town I live in because it's like you said with Philly, you come to love it. Mm-hmm. And so you're like, I want other people to love it. And I like the historical nature because, again, Philadelphia is a historical city. I mean, it's right up there with New York and Boston. And I don't know much about the jazz age in Philly. So reading the book, it kind of helped fill in some gaps in the education.
Yeah, Philly was a wildly lawless place during Prohibition. They actually the city brought in Smedley Butler, who had been the commandant of the Marine Corps during World War I, to run the police. And he quit after like a year. And he was like, I can't do it. There's no fixing this.
So now we can draw a direct line between that and how Eagles fans act during football games. Okay.
100%.
Makes sense now. 100% makes sense. All right. I get it. But are you currently a librarian?
I am a school librarian. So I teach pre-K to 8th grade, which is, the littles are very adorable and the older ones are so much fun. So it's a big range in my day.
Do they know that you're an author as well?
They do. I like to talk about it with them. I never met an author, I think, until I graduated college. And I didn't know it was a thing that real people do. So I've talked to the 4th grade about like creating your ideal writing environment, like, and how like really you just have to write. You can have these ideas of the perfect space, but you just have to sit down and do it.
Right.
And I've talked to the kids about the rejections or just like how a book gets made. It's really cool to share that with them. And some of the older ones are really excited. And so one of the 7th grade boys like burst into the library right after the book came out. He was like, Jenny, because they all call us by our first names. He's like, Jenny, that ending. And I said, did you read my book? Yeah. And he said, yeah, my mom and I read it together.
And then you burst out crying and he's like, Jenny, what's wrong? And you're like, trust me, it's a good cry.
Because it was a little gory and he's like, it wasn't that bad.
Well, 7th grade, now they see much worse, I'm sure.
Yeah.
A lot. I know that's what when I tell people, like, they're like, what book is your age range? I'm like, honestly, at this point, middle school and up, because kids see so much. And
I was reading V.C. Andrews in 6th grade.
Oh, same. I brought that up to somebody the other day, and I'm like, and that had incest in it. Right. So, like, I think I'm fine.
Yeah.
It may have turned into a crazy cat lady, but like I'm fine. Like as we lead up to election week, I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. The Patriots are tied. It's fine. It's going to be a week. But I love that with the kids like that, and not just the kid reading the book, but reading it with his parents. Like
I know
together.
It was so sweet. The school did like a feature in their magazine of the book this summer, so I had like parents of like my pre-K kids emailing me and being like, I read your book. And it was so lovely to like just have the support from the community.
Sure. And
really
especially cool. in having lived in Northern Virginia for, I think it was 6 years, it is I thought one of the most supportive towns. I wasn't writing yet. I wasn't doing anything writing, but like even just my coworkers were supportive of whatever was going on, and so that's amazing. And I guess having a school like that probably also just gives all the tingles and the warm and fuzzies.
It's lovely. And I think the cool thing about here, as opposed to other places where I've lived, is like everybody for the most part like has a thing that they are very passionate about. And it's cool to like see your friends succeed at their thing.
Yeah.
It might be very different from my thing.
Yeah.
But this is a town of like people who are like workaholics and
Yes.
very into like the thing that they're into, and they understand, I think, the amount of work that goes in
Right.
to something like getting a book published.
Right. Because as we know, it's not easy.
Not.
Can you talk a little bit about your journey? How did this book happen?
Yeah, so I started writing seriously this summer. I graduated from college. We're living here in DC. I moved straight here out of college. And I started writing young adult fantasy novels. I wrote 6 YA fantasy novels. The 6th one I got my agent with. I think I had like 500 rejections over.
At least, yeah.
Like just like sending out.
Yep.
And I thought like, this is it. I got it. And my agent is so lovely and supportive. And we sent that book out on submission, and it died. It was like one of those. I always felt like every time, all the rejections I got for all of the books were like, this is wonderful, but you felt so close, and they would say these really wonderful things, specific things about my work. So like I knew they were reading it, but it just wasn't standing out the way that it needed to. And so after about a year on submission, my agent
of the YA book,
she said, why don't we try like something like, let's try a totally new age category. Let's just try something different. Yeah. And so when I first started writing what became A Deadly Endeavor, I think I started it actually as YA. Okay. And then I sent her the first few chapters, like, this is not YA, and I'm not mad about it. Like, great. And I was like, okay, so that gave me permission to kind of push the envelope.
Yeah.
And when I sent her an email that was like, is paranormal romance but historical mystery a genre? And she said no. No, it's not one.
Not a named genre,
right?
But I read it.
And so So the early versions of this book, Gilbert was actually a necromancer, so he was like raising the dead. There was a lot of Frankenstein-y magic.
I could see that. Yeah. Okay.
And then it went out on sub like that, and my brilliant editor at Crooked Lane, all the rejections we were getting up to that.
Yep.
I think only 5. We didn't get a ton of rejections. It sold pretty quickly, but the ones that we did get were, this is so fun,
but we don't know where
to shelve it. We don't know how to market it. And then Melissa Rector is my editor at Crooked Lane, and she wrote back and she said, I love all of these things about it, except I think the mystery's getting lost.
Okay.
And so she's like, if you take out all the magic and we just make it a historical mystery, we can do this. And I said, sure, let's do it.
You're like, if that will make it sell and get a book, I will do whatever you want. Yes.
And it made the book so much better. I realized, like, as I was revising and taking out, there were actually only like 6 instances of magic in the whole book. It wasn't much.
There's not a lot of morgue action. They're there, but it's not like a lot. So if you are not like a Grey's Anatomy, you don't have to worry about like, oh my God, it's so much hospital. No, don't worry.
There's not. Like, Gilbert is a coroner, but we try to balance it a lot. He's not in there so often. And so that's how I became a mystery writer. Awesome. And then it sold, and I was like, I know nothing. Like, I always loved reading mysteries and watching all like the mystery shows, and I joined Guppies right away, and I was like, help me.
I know.
How do I do this?
That's I think how most of us joined Guppies. Before I even started writing a mystery, I was like, what?
Yeah. How?
I wrote poetry in college. Like, how do I put words together, and how do I kill people and not like be weird? And they just, right away, you read like the first one. It's like, I'm trying to kill somebody with an ice pick. How does that work? And people just answering right away. And I'm like, okay, these are my people.
Yeah. I took one of the Guppies classes on autopsies, which was it was like modern autopsies, but it's pretty easy to extrapolate backwards. 100 years.
So if you're out there listening, I don't know why my nose looks red now that I'm looking at it. I don't drink. It's a Diet Coke nose. I don't know. It's probably all the blowing of the leaves. But now I can't remember. The guppy. Just join it. You know, if you join the Sisters in Crime dues is not super expensive. I just renewed my chapter dues and it was $25, and like they go out of their way to help you, which is you don't have to do you can do as much work as you need to. So and I get the daily digest every day, so I see what everybody's talking about.
That's how I do it too.
Even if I'm not there every day, at least I know what's going on.
I feel like I read a lot.
Yes.
I always, you know, sometimes I save my posting for the things I feel like I'm really comfortable with. But I'm reading all of it, and I'm learning so much from the questions other people are asking. There's
a marketing group for those that like. I ended up taking a class on Facebook ads because I have, yes, I'm a millennial, but I have no idea how to do any of that stuff. Like I'm barely on TikTok. Well, like it's all cats. But if you ever go to my TikTok, it's just my cats because they're like the easiest thing to do.
I like me opening my box of books. I think is like the last one I put. Yeah. I decided with all the social media and the marketing, like I'm just going to stick to the places that bring me joy. And right now that is like Instagram. And I don't know if my readers are there because I'm not 100% sure who my readers are. But it's where I like to be. So, yay!
Check. So much so I got it at the Hingham Public Library. I didn't know it was at the Hingham Public Library. I was getting my library to order, but they're on the same network. So it kind of worked out that it was all there. But I was like, what if I want to order a book? Because I'm going to interview this lady and it's historical and I love a historical. And they were like, yeah, just fill it. Because my libraries, I mean, you're a librarian, you know, librarians are great. And so they're like, yeah, you can just request whatever you want. It's like, don't threaten me with a good time, librarians, because I will. You'll get a stack of requests for me. But yeah, so I just returned that, and the next one you do have a second in the series. Do you have before I get to that, is there a plan of how many in the series, or are you kind of just going to hope for the best and keep writing until you can't write no more?
See, that's kind of it. My agent asked me, I think it might have been Melissa. She's like, how many books do you see? And I said, as many as you let me write. Yeah. I can do this all day. Right. So yeah, the sequel, book 2 is called A Poisonous Silence. It comes out May 6th. It's up on NetGalley now, which is very exciting.
Oh, I think I haven't heard yet if I got it. But I'm on
which is terrifying because I feel like I just finished it.
Right.
And people are reading it. And I have plans for a third book. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully, if enough people read books 1 and 2, I'll get to write book 3.
Okay.
We're going to cross our fingers and hope for the best.
Yes, agreed. I feel like it could be similar to Victoria Thompson's Gaslight series, where what did she end up with, like 20-something books? Because it's just one of those stories that can...
Yeah, or like Ashley Weaver's, like McDonald, like they
exactly. Like I said, pretty much my whole Kindle is Kindle Unlimited historical mysteries, some paranormal and monster historical mysteries. So if that was a genre, I just finished one called, what was it? Tall Dark. And it wasn't a spicy one. Like I know that title sounds spicy, but like it involved like serpent things and vampires, but it was in the 1920s, and it was like,
that sounds so fun.
Yeah. That might be a book recommendation for some people. I think my kitten is looking at me. I don't know what that means. It's children. We're recording this the day after, what is it? Daylight savings, fall back, fall ahead, whatever. So time means nothing, basically. And it's going to start getting dark here soon, which is also terrifying. Another thing I wanted to talk about in the book, both Gilbert and Edie have, I don't want to say issues. That's such a simplistic way to say it. But Gilbert has pretty much PTSD from his time in the war, World War I. Edie has anxiety issues from trauma that she lost her mother to influenza, and, you know, just the whole turmoil of that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say, you know, another little piece of turmoil that she faces in the book. So read it because it's great. I will say I did not see the ending coming, so I'm with your seventh grader, which I don't know if that's good for me or him, but I was also surprised and I loved it. But yeah, how did you have experience in that kind of space, or did you look for sensitivity readers to find it, or how did you kind of marry that? Because I thought it was I'm an anxious person, so some of those panic attack moments, I was like, that felt real. That felt real.
I'm an anxious person too.
Okay.
And
as all writers must be, I think.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I had a very traumatic birth with my daughter that like led to some of not as severe as Gilbert, but definitely like it caused mental health issues and Edie's migraines too. Right? It was really important for me to show these characters, these who are disabled by their, their mental health or, Edie's chronic pain issues, and show that on the page in a way that I don't think I've seen so much of. Yep. Edie, I've had migraines since I was in elementary school, right? And I've had migraines like Edie since I was in elementary school, and I had never ever seen them on a page.
Right.
And I wanted to show that like Edie can live a very full.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. And she does.
And like, and she has to deal with this reality, right? Like, it's not like it's something she overcomes or something that is magically made better. It is something that is part of her daily, she's always calculating, how's the barometric pressure? Like, is the light too bright? Is what's going to happen? And there are times where she is forced into bed because she cannot deal. And the same with Gilbert. The number of soldiers who came back from the First World War with shell shock, what they call shell shock. We don't really have an accurate number because no one really talked about it. It was so taboo. But especially in the United States, in places like Great Britain and France, psychologists were better at recognizing
right.
Treating it. At some points in the war, things went back and forth and changed, and but there were so many men who came back completely changed.
Yeah.
And Gilbert, he experienced trauma before he went to war.
Right.
He went to war to escape some of that trauma.
Just piled it on.
And then survived and came back, which he had not planned on doing. And I really wanted Gilbert to feel real.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a sensitivity reader who helped me a lot.
Right. Well, you can tell because it's done in a way where you really get invested. Yeah. And also I thought the character of Marco, I thought he was kind of he was like, in books, historical mysteries, you get the stereotype of people who are just like, oh, he's weak, he's a coward, da-da-da. But Marco almost had that sensitivity, like, Gilbert, I'm here, it's fine, like, we're here, it's Philadelphia, it's not France, like, da-da-da. So I just got a little warm and fuzzy about Marco. I was like, no, Marco.
I love Marco.
Yeah, he's adorable.
I mean, he's the friend that, like, we all want. Even if we don't really, like, he's wisecracking and he's can kind of be a jerk. Like, he wears this armor, but he's there for Gilbert in a way that nobody else is.
Exactly, yeah. Loved it.
And I love him, and he's like, it's fun to. It's so funny because I just finished book 2, so I'm like, just wait because we're gonna get more of all of them.
Gotcha. Lizzie too, because I like Lizzie as a character as
absolutely
well. Okay,
Lizzie.
Good. She was fun.
That was another. Well, I won't spoil anything, but
I know it's so hard, right? Like, I'm gonna be like, let's just talk about the book.
But so we're gonna see more of everybody that we love.
Well, for a note, Lizzie is Gilbert's sister, so there's a tie-in, and she also works with Edie's family. So there's kind of a.
She's the glue. She's the catalyst for them meeting. Yeah, and then, once they meet, it's just, they can't help it. They just keep coming back to each other.
I like it. And they can keep coming back for.
It's like, always that gif of like, is it from Tangled, of like that guy in the bar with the 2 little unicorns, and he's like, and now the kiss. Like that's
that's how I want them to do it. But yeah, I think like the Marco character, because Gilbert, you have pretty, I don't want to call them graphic, but they're very visceral scenes of Gilbert having these flashbacks of post-traumatic stress, and you saying you had a sensitivity reader for that, I think really shows, because obviously as a library science medieval studies major, you weren't exactly fighting in a war. Well, different academic war. So I'm sure it's like a different feeling. Yeah. And it really tells on the page. And like you said, I think it's getting a lot better now in writing, with people writing chronic illness, migraines, post-traumatic stress, trauma into pages. But yeah, forever it was like they're just cardboard cutouts of people. They're just making their way through the day.
Or they're the villains.
Yeah.
And so many cases that they are, the person who is scarred physically or otherwise, is made to be the villain. And that also, I wanted them to be the heroes of their stories. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's a mystery, but it's also a romance. I mean, they are two broken people who are like trying to like, who deserve love and deserve,
And I think, and it definitely shows, like you said, I mean, we're talking a lot about it now because it's not something we talk about a lot in books, but it's also not the main point of the story. You don't open every chapter like, Edie's migraine's back, everybody, she's having a panic attack, like, get ready. No, it's just, it's naturally woven in, like, how it happens in real life. And I think that is important because it is an everyday thing for a lot of people. And you always want to see yourself in a book, even if it is from the 1920s. Like,
as in librarianship, especially children's librarianship, we talk so much about like windows, mirrors, sliding glass doors, right? Like books are, and that's Ruth Sims, I think, is the woman who coined that term back in the 90s. And the diversity in books is so important, especially for all people, but books allow us to see ourselves, and they allow us an insight into someone else's experience.
Oh, yeah.
And it is such a valuable way to learn about the world around us and like put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Which we should all do. I mean, again, as I said, as a 40-year-old woman, 40 plus, I mean, it's fascinating to read books from other dimensions. Like obviously, for the surprise of no one, I am very white and very Irish, very French Canadian. So like to read outside my culture is important to me because I know I don't have an experience like somebody else. And why am I going to try it? Not to sound all political. This is happening because we have a million frickin' political ads right now, but it's why would I try to say like your experience is invalidated? If you're writing about it, that's your experience. And if you take it, you live it, you own it, and I will support you. Like, you know, and sure, as a librarian, you have to have those conversations too with people. Like I know you might not like it, but it needs to be there.
It has to be. And the people who are who need the books will find them. Exactly. Like, especially when we talk about kids, which is like so far from what I write now. But I think my dog is coming too.
I heard him shake.
Oh, here he is.
That's a hound dog. Oh, he's a mom. It's dinner time, by the way. Mom. Oh, I see his ear.
You want to say hi, Mister? This is Mister.
Mister. What a good boy.
He's a good
boy. He said dinner time. Now, Mom. I know my cats have disappeared, but we're all kind of clustered in the kitchen living area because they're like, as soon as she drops that food in the bowl, I am there. Like, it's happening.
That is 100% how he's doing.
How long have you had Mister?
We've had him since January, the end of January. He's 3.5. Oh, he's almost 4 now. We're his 4th home.
Oh.
And he's a former. We think he's a former hunting dog who is not very good at his job.
Which makes him the perfect family dog.
Yes. He has a whole host of neuroses and anxieties. He's come a really long way.
Aww.
So we're very proud of him.
Oh, I love Mister. Look at him reverting to puppy talk. Mister.
I know, he's so sweet. And like he and my 6-year-old are like,
I was just going to ask. Oh.
We had a Mister themed birthday party. It was just amazing.
I met somebody this past weekend who was going to a birthday party where the mother set up an escape room in the basement and they had to like find it to get the cake or whatever. And I was like, hey, this is probably why I'm not a mother because I can't do that. That's like a lot of work. But that's amazing.
Yeah.
Not that my birthdays at McDonald's and the roller skating rink were unimpressive, Mom and Dad, if you're listening, but I never got an escape room. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, so we did mini golf for her birthday this year,
okay.
Which was really fun. It was like $5 a kid, which was amazing. It was like one of our regional parks.
Okay.
And so all the decorations were Mr. themed, but it also poured rain, and so we mini golfed in the rain for her birthday. I like bought ponchos for all the kids. I was like, we're doing this. Wear your rain boots.
Yeah. And now she has walking pneumonia. Go figure.
Yeah, exactly. Now she has walking pneumonia. But that was her birthday was in May, so
yeah, okay, so she was fine. Yeah, for my 35th birthday, I did a bowling party because I was like, I want to do something fun for a big party, and just made my friends meet me at a bowling alley. And of course, there's liquor at the bowling alley, so they like that. Not to whatever, they're drunks. It's fine. Just kidding, every friend that's listening. I don't know if they do. They were all busy with children's and whatnot. But one of the other, we only have about 10 minutes, but I did want to talk to you about the difference in research styles, because obviously writing about monsters, he punched you in the face. Rude. Mista. The difference between researching monsters in 14th century French literature versus 1920s jazz area flappers prohibition. How did you find that?
So it was different. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, my college research was a lot of translating documents, and I worked in the Rare Books Library, so it was like working with like primary sources and like all this cool stuff. But it was very hands-on. Yeah. I wrote this book in the first draft I wrote early 2021, so like pandemic was still pretty much raging. I did a lot of online research. The City of Philadelphia, the City Archives, has a really robust online collection. The Free Library of Philadelphia, where I used to work, has a maps collection, which is really cool, and it's digitized. And I spent so much time poring over like trolley routes, that just to see like how would Lizzie get from point A to point B. Right. There was just so much stuff like on YouTube. There is a video of it's from like the Pennsylvania Home Movie Society. It's a day at the Philadelphia Zoo in 1922, and I was like, "This is incredible."
Yeah, and the zoo factors in the book.
The zoo. Yeah, that was my daughter.
Oh no, we lost her.
Are you back?
Oh, are you back? Okay,
I'm back. I don't know what just happened.
I know that I was like, after we talked about the zoo. Oh no,
the zoo was that was my daughter's input.
Oh,
she was like 4, maybe 3.5, 4, and I was like at the dinner table telling my husband like, I need to have this thing happen. I don't know where it needs to happen. It needs to, like, they go to a party, and Ellie goes, Mama, they want to go to the zoo, and I thought about it. Actually, yeah, they do. They do need to be at the zoo for this. And the zoo is such an iconic place in Philadelphia. And it was really cool to see the way people moved through the zoo. I mean, I actually got to go and give a talk to my former school and my former middle schoolers about historical research to write historical fiction. And I showed them the video, and they were like, wait, I know where that is. I know where that is.
That's so cool.
See how like things have changed, but they also haven't.
Right.
So yeah, the City Archives is this really cool tool where you can like plug in an address and you can find photos from all over. Also, my husband is a historian of the 20th century.
Okay.
A military historian of the 20th century. And so when I would need things like, darling, like what sort of sidearm would a soldier carry in the trenches, like he was like able to come out for like that. He also taught a history of Philadelphia class when he was at Temple. So he's very useful.
Well done. Well done. You did good. He's probably like, as long as I get thanked in the book, it's fine. That's all that matters.
He's so patient. You kind of follow him around the house, reading out loud to him.
Yeah, question. Because that's the one thing they always say in mystery writing: you can never screw up like bus schedules, trolley schedules.
Mhm.
and firearms, which is why I tend not to write firearms because I'm like, I just can't even be arsed with it because, like, that's a lot.
No, I mean, book two, it's poison, so I
Yeah.
decided to do something a little simpler. But when the books on poison started arriving from the
Yep.
library at the house, my husband was like, should I
Can
be
you tell me?
concerned?
Yeah, I have two in my bookshelf right now, and I was just keep thinking about. I ordered them at the same time on Amazon, and I'm sure the little poor worker at Amazon was like, "Household poisons? What? This is
It's like A is for
what?
arsenic, the
Yeah,
poisoner's handbook,
uh huh.
and then I threw in like how to write a mystery. Like
Yep.
that
Yeah,
was
right. How to dispose of a dead body
right.
fictionally,
Fictionally, oh, my
fictionally. I
search
swear.
history is
I
like
swear. I know it's so hard, especially I think now with the internet, it's harder to hide your mystery writing searches because like at the old days, you just go to the Dewey Decimal and then you're just by
yeah,
yourself in the back
exactly.
room looking at the numbers and
Sometimes I'm like, dear personal FBI agent,
yes,
I am a mystery writer.
I swear it's
Please
a
do not worry
normal.
about me.
I'm not killing people.
Right.
I'm
Not
sorry, everybody. But that's one of the reasons. The third book that hopefully will be out next year is that I took my characters away from here and took them to somewhere else because I'm like, I don't want a Cabot Cove murder she wrote situation where just everybody in town's
too
dying
many
because it's a
murders.
real town here, and I don't
Yeah.
want them to hate me because like I'm planning on not moving for a while because I can't afford it. So don't hate me, I won't kill you. But we do have 5 minutes left, so I want to get any book recommendations, or did you
Yeah.
read something recently that you want to share, or just something, anything?
Yes. So I really wanted to give a shout out to the newest book in Nikessa Athia's Harlem Renaissance Mysteries. I think we
No, that
talked
was
about like
her.
it's so important to read diversely,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you've read the first one, Dead Dead Girls. The newest one is called A Lethal Lady.
Okay.
And they star Louise, our main character. She is a queer black young woman in the 1920s in New York City, and the newest one's in Paris, which is really fun.
Yeah.
And they are just amazing. I
Okay.
love them so much. I also just read, actually just read it today, like the whole book I
Oh
read
gosh.
today, and it's a historical romance called The Finest Print by Erin Langston, and it is set in 1840s London. And the bad guy in the book is taxes. Like it's great. Like it's like the print tax is like the
Okay.
villain of the story.
Interesting.
And it's about this American guy who inherits a printing company, but it's 100 pounds in debt.
Okay.
And he wants to run a newspaper, but at that point in England, there was like a
A lot.
pound, or there was like a pence tax on every paper sold.
Sure.
And he ends up meeting this woman who writes gothic fiction, and they write A Penny Dreadful together and fall in love.
That's start on my list now because
It
that's
is so good.
perfect.
So good. And it's just like what I needed to read right now.
Yeah.
I can't, I just need some happy books right
Yes.
now.
Understood.
I think.
Yeah. Again, 2 days till election day in the U.S., so we need happy things right now. First time I've literally gotten cut off. Usually, I'm pretty good at watching the time count down, but I was just so because I really just wanted to talk to her about the book the whole time because I had just finished it. There's a great twist at the end. I don't think I knew who the killer was. I sort of towards the end started to think I knew, and I kind of got there, but I didn't know how the connections fit together. So I was really excited about that. So yeah, and I want to read like the paranormal version that she was talking about, the necromancer kind. And also I want to read her YA fantasies because that sounds fun too. That's kind of what she entered the world with. So hopefully I'll get to meet her in events coming soon. We didn't get to talk about it. I put her website down in the link below so you can find her. But also she is going to be at the grand opening of the new Barnes and Noble in Georgetown on November 9th in the afternoon. So check that out. First of all, very excited. There was definitely not one there when I lived there. I think there was one in downtown DC, but I think we had to go, you know, in the suburbs, which I lived in Alexandria, so it was fine for me. But it's nice to have one in a town, and I mean a college town. And for those that know, I don't know if it's still this way, but we always thought Georgetown was the fancy part of DC. So we would always, that'd be like a Sunday fun trip. They had like a French market in the summer, and they had all the fancy stores. And so that would be a treat if we went down to walk along the river down in Georgetown. So now that it's got a Barnes and Noble, hope maybe I'll come down and do an event myself. We shall see. We shall see. Speaking of events, I will be at the Next Chapter and More bookstore opening on November 16th. Speaking of, as I said before, Hank Philippi Ryan's the Lifetime Achievement winner for the Crime Bake, and she will actually be there signing and speaking at noon at the Next Chapter, and then I'll be there at 1. So, but I'll be there early because I love Hank. So we'll see what happens. But I'm super excited for another bookstore to open up, an indie bookstore here in the South Shore. So please come out and see me there. I'm hoping to get my Quincy girls out. We'll see what happens. What else? Nothing else on the books as of yet. I'm starting to fill up next year, but if you have something you want me to be a part of this year, just let me know, and I will see if I can be a part of an event, because I do love doing things. I also love laying on my couch. So, and I probably should be writing book 4, but I'm still kind of in that haze of getting over book 3. So, and I'm still waiting to hear more information on that. So stay tuned for more information about book 3. And let's get into what I've been reading. A little bit of everything. Like I said, I just finished A Deadly Endeavor by Jenny Adams, which is a great historical mystery set in Philadelphia. I've also finished a whole bunch of One Final Turn on NetGalley, which is the Electra McDonald series, and now I can't remember her name, but that's a great series about the whole series, it kind of follows the Maggie Hope series, where it's like, she gets pulled into the secretive world of intelligence, British intelligence, and then it kind of finds her way out. It is the last book in the series, and it was very satisfying. I was very happy with the ending, and then the lead up to the ending, which was really great. So I've read those. I'm reading the 8th book in the Expanse series because I've had them on my shelf forever, and I want to finish that series so bad. So that's another one. I think it's called Tiamat's Wrath. I don't know how to say it. It's spacey. So I'm reading that, and then also, I'm so excited, Lindy Walker and Bruce Robert Coffin's latest Mosley Files, Turner and Mosley Files, The Pirate's Secret. That came in the mail, and I am so excited to break into that. As you know, I'm a Clive Cussler adventure suspense mystery fan, and this series, this is the 3rd book, has been one of my new favorite entries into the world of adventure, suspense, thriller novels. Also, I'm getting in the mail today, I'm very excited about the latest in the Galaxy Bond series by Jennifer Estep. So hopefully I'll have some reviews for you soon. I will not be recording in this coming week because I will be in Dedham at the New England Crime Bake, working the registration desk as always, and also moderating a panel on settings and nature and how that fits into a variety of different places. The panelists are very diverse. There's some who do like the Appalachian Trail and the Continental Divide Trail and the Pacific Coast Trail, and then Alaska, Oregon. I'm trying to think all the rest of them where they all are. They're all just so disparate. India, the English countryside, ballparks. So that's going to be a really cool panel. And then I'm excited to meet Gabino Iglesias. He's our guest of honor, and to see Hank get her award and kind of just learn more about the writing world and everything. So if you are a mystery writer or fan and you still want to register, go to crimebake.org. If you register now, you might not have a fancy name tag, but I will write you a pretty one when you come to the registration desk. And yeah, that's about it. So as always, enjoy Jenny, happy reading, and go Red Sox.